Hello, welcome to the Mikey Likes You podcast. Welcome. If you like this show, if you at all even moderately like me, subscribe, tell a friend, spread the word. Thank you. Thank you to all my sponsors, Betonline especially. And let's get going. So I had a very strange experience in that well, first and foremost, I'm celebrating my 22-year sober anniversary today as I record this. Thank you. So I get introspective naturally. But also, I was listening to the Joe Rogan podcast. And when they don't have an MMA or combat sports guest, when Joe doesn't, I'm not typically a listener. Nothing against him. I'm actually a huge Joe Rogan supporter and a defender, even because although Joe and I are not by any means like close friends, I did know him for a long time because I was on the Kevin and Bean morning show, and he would come in those days to promote his comedy because back then there was no Joe Rogan experience and comedians still had to use radio to promote things. And he's exactly the same guy that he is today. I mean, in 2005, we talk about jujitsu and crazy newly discovered animals on some remote island and hallucinogens and stuff. And so I love all his success, and I always constantly like to point that out to people that, you know, this tycoon that Joe Rogan has become is all based on authenticity. Also, ask anyone in the comedy community. It's either people who don't know him and they're jealous haters, or anyone who's even casually familiar with him and they're like, oh, he's super supportive and amazing and easy to deal with. So that's all. Anyway, I was listening to the Joe Rogan podcast, and he had Shane Smith on, formerly of Vice fame. And Shane offhandedly mentioned this amazing story about buying one of Johnny Cash's RollsRoyces that he was gifted from a network for having the biggest TV show at the time. I believe it was an ABC show. Anyway, the network that the Johnny Cash show was on, which was at the time bigger than Carson, bigger than anything. It was a huge, huge variety show, a kind of talk show, prime, daily big talk show, variety show thing. They got him a custom RollsRoyce with all black because it's Johnny Cash, the man in black, and black mahogany, blah, blah, blah. It was fantastic, the RollsRoyce he was describing. So I got super interested, and I went and I researched this RollsRoyce. And the amount of effort that went into engineering this immaculate automobile was astounding. And I got to research a little bit about just the making of, and the way that they did in those days. This is probably the mid 60s. The way that they drew the car. Designers drew it on paper. Then had to make clay molding modeling of this entire automobile so that they could understand that the lines would be straight and proper. And then they hammered out metal, literal metal, and they fashioned it to fit this design that they had created, again, first on paper with drawing, and someone's mind and eyeballs created this, and they found it feasible. Then they created it with clay, and then moved on to hammering it out by hand. The use of some machines, of course, but this is far before, robot assembly lines and things like that. And it was astounding to me. And it was not surprising that when you look at these automobiles at that time, they are more beautiful. They are more beautiful. They reflect that level of effort that goes into it. And that level of effort only happens because they were limited in their resources in creation. Limiting creation, limiting ability limiting your outlets for the things that you do actually is one of the most motivating and inspiring things you can do, especially in the arts. So I started researching this, and it just kind of, because of YouTube algorithms and stuff, and I'm a huge fan of the former $1 Million Extreme guys and Sam Hyde. Nick Rockford, I believe is how you pronounce his name, and those guys, they're great. I before the controversies and things, like I idolized those guys. I thought that they were so clever and creative and really meaningful. The art that they were making was meaningful and thought provoking, and they're genuine. It's been such a long time since I had seen people that were genuinely that funny, but also that clever and substantial in an artistic sense. So anyway, Sam Hyde, $1 Million Extreme, those guys, check them out. They still do podcasts and have shows, and believe it's called the Perfect Guy Show. He does now. It kicked. I watched that a lot, so it kicked me over to there. And he was talking about how he loves MMA, but he prefers boxing because you're limited in what you can do. There's no grapple. You can't take a guy down. You can't kick him. You can't knee him. You're limited to just using your hands, and that creates a little bit more ambition with the artist. And it was a very valid point, and I started to think in that regard. And then he actually went down the rabbit hole of talking about automobiles, and he brought up something very near and dear to my heart, and that was kind of the golden era of American manufacturing. And my 66 GTO and my 70 El Camino and things there, you cannot, I love, and this is not an insult to modern engineers of automobiles. I mean, if you look at a Bugatti, you look at, even in a more reasonable to regular people, you look at the new Corvettes and things. It's beautiful automobiles and amazing. I marvel at their amazing engineering, but they don't have, to me, that overwhelming beauty, because the curves are almost artificial to the human eye. They're so extreme because you made them on a computer, and then you used plastic and very malleable materials to fashion these things. When you didn't have malleable, kind of easily manipulated materials, you just had steel, and you just had human eye and drawing, it created something that was so much more appealing to the human eye. It seemed human. And not to get too heady, but, I even notice it with materials and clothing, right? I'm not someone who's going to spend too much brain power critiquing men and women's outfits, but I do have an appreciation for design, right? And if you look at, for instance, like denim, really high quality Japanese or American denim from Vidalia Mills, or from some of the famous mills in Japan, that's the material itself carries with it such a beauty, right? And then when you, not stretchy denim, which is admittedly a lot more comfortable, but regular real denim that is kind of molded to a human's body from wear, and that fits well, the way it drapes, the way it sits on the body, it's such an appealing appearance. I believe because there's a human connection to it. And that's because you're, again, limited in how much you can really do. There's not the application of like synthetic fibers. There's not the application of this amazingly vast color palette, right? You're dealing with natural indigo and rope dyed, the rope dyeing of the process to make that really, really hard to create material. That's very beautiful, right? Very, very almost tangible, the beauty in it. And you, like I said, you're not limited. You are extremely limited in a sense that you don't have the options that someone who makes it with machines or uses synthetic fibers and colors that they have just an endless array of palettes, and there's almost decision fatigue as opposed to just investing that human beauty into these very limited things. And so this is a very long-winded intro, and I thought an interesting one into why and how I designed my new program, the Apex program, which will be available soon to all of you, and hopefully a lot more, on Train Heroic. And it's that I am not someone from a purely objective standpoint. I understand the value of a lot of machines and isolation work. Certainly, when you're talking about extreme levels of musculature, when you already are big, sarcoplasmic growth, and the ability to kind of isolate smaller, even smaller parts of one muscle group as opposed to just even one muscle group alone. But there is something incredibly beautiful and valuable to limiting all these crazy options to just body weight and free weight movements, and feeling the iron in your hands as it moves in all the different directions, having to control it from moving in the different planes, and relegating yourself to a very, very well curated selection of exercises, and just focusing extremely hard and extremely deeply into these small collection, this small collection of exercises, and a small collection of valuable working sets within those small collections of exercises. It wasn't just mindless minimalism. It was a really calculated execution of choosing these exercises to hit specific parts of the body and groups of parts of the body, and to work in symbiotically with the other exercises that were chosen. It's a 12-week program. Weeks 1 through 4 and weeks 9 through 12. 1 through 4, 9 through 12 are the same exercises, and they are 3 full body workouts a week. 3 full body workouts a week. 5 through 8. Yes. In the middle, phase 2. So there's phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. Phase 1 and phase 3 are they're all 4-week periods. They are the same. And hopefully by phase 3, you would be using considerably more weight than you would for more reps than you would in phase 1 of the same exercises. Phase 2 in the middle, you're going to separate into upper, lower. So you'd be training everything twice a week with more specific attention paid to smaller parts of muscle groups by training everything 4 days a week as opposed to 3 days a week full body. You're doing upper, lower 4 days a week for phase 2. And I didn't just take what is an effective program and put it together from knowledge in the exercise and fitness world. I wanted to make a program that literally everybody could use. I use it. I train in this fashion, and I've been training at a pretty high level for a long time, 20 something years. Someone who is an abject beginner can pick up this program and find immense success with it. Someone who has other physical endeavors in their life, if you're into jiu-jitsu, if you're into boxing, if you're into running marathons, this can be applied to that perfectly. If all you want to do is look amazing naked, this can apply to you perfectly. And that's something I wanted to create. I wanted to create the Levi's 501 of training programs. I wanted to create the 70 Chevelle Super Sport of training programs. I wanted to create I'm trying to think of other things that always work in every situation. The Adidas Copa Mundial soccer shoe. You could be Messi. You could be your first day at AYSO. That shoe is awesome. Kills. It kills. There used to be a Rawlings wood bat. It didn't matter if it was your third season in the major leagues or if you'd never played in a wood bat league. There was I forgot what it's called, but if you have good options, if you have good examples, please send them to me so I could use them and I'll give you credit. But the Levi's 501, it's unarguable. Okay. You can dress that up and take it out at night with a blazer and you're pimping. If you get the good right size that fits you perfectly, you can. I work on the farm with my old beat up Levi's 501, straight fit, nothing flashy, perfect in every way. Okay, I wanted to make that for you, that program. So because I think the internet has made decision fatigue such a grand and kind of overwhelming issue. You get 2 days into one program, you're like, oh, this program's better. I just saw it from this dude or this gal, and I'm going to switch. No, I don't care if you're overwhelmingly busy. If you have all day to train, this program works. It takes into consideration all different types of accumulative fatigue, muscular fatigue. It takes into consideration the stress on different fibers of the muscle cells, every part of the body, head to toe, and the right amount of training frequency for you to continue making gains, exercise selection. Everything is there for you. And so that was my long-winded sales pitch, but I didn't want to just make a podcast that was simply a sales pitch. That was absolutely an intention. I don't want to pretend like I'm misleading you. I absolutely want to promote this program that I've been working hard on and hopefully get more people to purchase. But on top of that, I wanted to talk about something that I do think is important, and that is we now with the internet and with access to everything, right, at a scale that human history has never been matched. This is so extraordinary and really unprecedented. The amount of information, the amount of products, the amount of everything, the amount of stimulation that we are afforded through smartphones and the internet and social media, it's extraordinary. And because of that, I think we trick ourselves. And I'm not saying this in any way in a condescending fashion. I make a vested interest into not doing that ever. This is always, I'm going to, if you could call it that, lecture from things that I've noticed in myself that I get, and I feel like a lot of us do. We get this overwhelming sense of, I need to add this in order to start functioning optimally. I need to take this product. I need to have this training program. I need to add training days. I need to add training, more exercises, more volume to my actual workouts, more frequency to the amount of workouts I do in a week. I need to take this more and more of this product. I need to get on this hormone. I need to add. And if you analyze history, especially in the arts, and if you look at engineering and development of things, and if I can take things anecdotally from my own life and apply it to you, whenever I start to find a groove and really make progress with anything in life, but most certainly with training, I always subtract. I don't add things. I remove things, and I play that filtration game of what is really valuable and important to me, what is meaningful to me, and then double down on that and just cut away the rest. And Trent Reznor, not to name drop because I don't know the guy, but he did come on the radio show once on Loveline, and I'm a huge fan. And to get one of the special aspects of Loveline, even compared to other radio shows, not let alone just media outlets, was that you spent a lot of time with the guest. It was a 2-hour show, but they were typically there for an hour and a half of the show. You know, the first break Dr. Drew and I would do, and then we'd intro the guests and come on. So they're there a lot, and you're on the air about 40 minutes, an hour. The rest is commercial breaks, and during those commercial breaks, I'm sitting there talking to the guy. And Trent Reznor's not a very, he was nice. I'm not trying to insult him, but he's not a personable guy. He's kind of a quiet, stoic fellow. So I was trying my best to not bother him, but at the same time, I was very curious about, you know, his life and writing process, certainly, because I think he's very, very talented and very meaningful as an artist. And he told me that when he's in a writing slump, that he'll just say, okay, fine, I've hit a wall. I'm going to just use the black keys on the piano. That's it. I'm just going to use the open E string on a guitar. I'm just going to sit here for the next fill in the blank amount of time, and that's it. That's my goal, is to just, the other 5 strings don't exist, just the E string. The other keys don't exist, just the black keys, and see what I can do and see if it doesn't jar something loose. And inevitably it did. And that always stuck with me. And then I applied my, and like I said, my anecdotal experience, and it wasn't I needed to do a different drug or just drink beer or just, I didn't have to add. I just took away things, and things started to work out. I didn't need to go buy another dog because of this. I just invested a lot more time in the dogs that I had. quit looking and even thinking about buying. Oh, I heard that potbelly pigs are actually a really good pet. It's I stopped with the thought of addition of anything. Oh, but those jeans look really cool on those dudes. And it's like, no, maybe I should just get rid of the 8 pairs of my 11 pair of jeans and actually just take these 3 that I know are awesome and just rock those all the time. Everything always ended up being better for me. Always. And in a way that's most relevant for us in this conversation is I would add volume, add exercises, add training frequency, add. And sure, because I work very hard in the gym and I take very good care of my nutrition, things worked. But when I really made those people commenting type gains, where people are like, oh damn, whether it be growing muscle or getting leaner, it was always from like, hey dude, 3 days a week. And those 3 days are going to be Vince Lombardi training. I'm like, let's go, focus, tuned in, not looking at my phone, boom, and getting increasingly, incrementally stronger in a very core level, small but well thought out collection of exercises. I'm gonna walk every day. I'm not gonna worry about it. Certainly combat sports and my endeavors, they came into play. But as far as like me and the work that I did in my body, I walk every day and I'm going to get stronger in these core exercises. And that's it. And just don't fuck with yourself anymore. Push yourself in this very focused arena, and outside of that, quit looking for other things in your closet. Just really appreciate and focus on the cool things that are already there. Or get rid of some of the stuff that's getting in the way. If things aren't adding up, it's time to subtract. Boom. Mark that down. Thank you, everybody. I love you. And in this crazy mixed up world that makes you think that nobody cares, remember, I do. Be good.